Welcome to In Demand, your regular insider guide to everything that matters in the world of B2B marketing and demand generation, brought to you by Demand AI. Experience the future of demand gen with Demand AI. My name is Matt Egan, Chief Content Officer here at Demand AI, and I'm joined, as I always am, by the only real expert in this space, who is our Chief Revenue Officer, Tommy Heffernan. Hello, Tommy. What's new with you, my friend?
Hey, Matt. We finally got some good weather in the Northeast. Yeah, it's supposed to be 60, 65 today, which is really nice.
But looking similar here in the UK too. So it's nice that we're sharing a kind of global experience, global North experience at least. And today we're diving into something that is dominating every conversation in our industry right now, but still feels for many marketers, I feel, frustratingly unclear. And of course, it's very close to our hearts here at Demand AI, because whilst every vendor in our space is now AI powered and every platform is AI enabled, many teams are still asking a very simple question, which is, in the drive to incorporate AI, is that actually making our marketing better, or is it just making things more complicated and in some cases more expensive? So we're going to talk about AI in B2B marketing today. So Tommy, let's start at the beginning, right? The concept is everywhere right now. But let's start simply. What's actually changing in B2B marketing because of AI versus what we might hear some people just talking about?
Yeah, I think you said it best, right? And that we've talked about this before, and it's a topic of conversation almost everywhere, which is no longer debate, but I think the reality of AI native versus legacy tech with a GPT wrapper. Legacy tech is still going to perform at legacy tech levels, right? Using AI may get you there faster. But if you're doing yesterday's things faster, you're not solving anything today still, right? And so that's a big piece of this. AI as a whole has gripped the marketing world, both on the vendor side and brand side. And I think there's a lot to talk about today, and I know we'll get into the specific facets of that.
Yeah, for sure. So interesting. I was talking to a very senior performance marketer the other day, and she said she made two separate distinctions. She said there's the how can we use AI conversation, which she didn't like, and then there's the how can we solve our problems better and where does AI fit in question, which she does like. I thought that was a really good way of crystallizing things. But then she also talked about, but it is okay to have, can we use AI tactically to make things cheaper and faster? Like, that's okay, right? If it increases output and it makes us more efficient, versus I think what we tend to talk about, which I think is an important topic, the most important topic, versus how to do things completely different because AI allows us to do that kind of thing. So when I think about that hype in the market, again, those phrases, and for those listening, I'm doing air quotes here, AI powered, AI driven, AI enabled. What do you see in the market out there that is genuinely innovative versus how much do you see that's, to your point, repackaging old ideas with AI on top? What do you feel is the balance there at this point?
I think there's two parts to that answer. If you had asked me that even at the beginning of this year, I would have told you there's a lot of fluff and very, very little genuine innovation, AI framework, AI from the ground up. In the last, I think, 8 to 12 weeks, there have been a lot of situations where we've even spoken with new customers, and there's some really cool stuff out there. A lot of it I don't even understand yet, but I think that the majority is still it's just words, buzzword bingo.
And I think that's a buzzword bingo, yeah. And I think that's natural to where we are in the market today. You and I have been around long enough to remember cloud adoption and things like that having similar, if less impactful phases. But I do agree with you, actually. And we did have that conversation at the turn of the year. It does feel like there's more kind of material things coming through. And like when I start thinking about the various components of how B2B marketers succeed, you and I have always preferred to think about things from the buyer perspective, because that's how you really figure out how things are going. And something I've heard you speak very eloquently about on many occasions, but is like the way buyers discover and evaluate products and vendors. AI is changing that, right? And what does that change mean for marketers who are trying to engage buyers?
Yeah, well, we've talked about this. Our CEO, Mike Wife, has talked about this. We are turning fast into an environment that demands precision. We are a long way away from the volume game, right? And it really matters not just who we're targeting, but to begin with, what data we're actually weighting and what data we're not weighting. So that's right now.
And then from the buyer perspective, the way that buyers are kind of finding insights they need to drive that user journey, I guess, that buyer journey, that buyer.
I don't know. I think it's a bit illustrious to call it a journey because it is just this. If your thing is instant gratification, you should have been born in 2026. And you can call it zero click, you can call it dark funnel, you can call all these, but the reality is that this self-education doesn't even require a whole lot of work from oneself.
Yeah. So that old process of marketers at least believing that they were directing prospects with the content they push to them, like to your point, that's kind of gone away now. So it is much more about being present in the places where buyers are looking for information. Because to your point, they're going to self-direct, they won't be directed. And you also touched on the data point, which is hugely important. There's more data than ever, but prioritizing who we should target is still an incredibly difficult question to answer. I think AI can help in terms of really cleansing data if you do it right, and really finding those signals that tell you who the right buyer is. Like when we think about data in that way, my feeling is data without insight is just noise. I think AI can help, right? I mean, have you seen any examples of that?
Well, yeah. In fact, Matt, we just spoke to a marketer yesterday, and that marketer said, I think what you're doing is really cool. It's incredible and I love it, but we're not ready. And here's why. And I was waiting to hear something regarding budget, something regarding a reorg, something regarding some type of barrier to entry and she said, I'd like to focus on brand building first. And well, hear me out because this is really cool. Forever, when a CMO has said, I'm focused on brand building, if they're at a enterprise company, specifically cybersecurity or some type of IT, that means going out and putting your logo on a Formula One car. It means sponsoring the Masters or March Madness, right? We're talking about shareholders. We're talking about stock price. Okay. This is optics versus actionable. And so what she's referencing was a validation for what we're talking about and what we're seeing. And she said, we're going back to an inbound economy.
Interesting.
We need to be ready for all of those inbounds. But before we do that, we need to make sure that our content is parsable, our content is citable, and we're building a narrative that connects those questions that they're asking to a solution. So no, I don't want to buy any leads from you right now. And I said, amazing. This is the best thing I've heard, right?
Yeah.
Because she gets it. She knows where this is going. And I think that kind of goes hand in hand with the value of answer engine data over traditional consented, opted, and lead.
And also my next question was going to be, what role should content play? And I was leading you to this point that your colleague there has got you to, because again, my hack question was going to be, is it still about producing assets or is it something more interactive and insight led? And there's your answer. There's a really smart marketer who's thinking, this has existed forever. If we educate our customer and our product is a solution for them, that will work. But it's hard yards. It's not buying loads of leads and filling a funnel. It's actually marketing. It's actually providing insights to a potential customer. And that takes a brave marketer.
Yeah, it does, because you're standing out there in the rain by yourself for a bit until everyone realizes how big the umbrella is. You gotta be brave. You have to be bold. And I applaud her, and I won't plug the company name, but I have a feeling she'll be joining us at some point in time. Very forward thinking. It was a really cool conversation.
And so if that's an example where someone is thinking from a values-driven perspective, so I would say they're then going to use AI in the right way. Where do you think organizations are getting AI wrong in their marketing strategies right now?
Well, I think you can get addicted to these models pretty quickly. And I think there is a knee-jerk reaction, or maybe just a gravitational pull, to begin to use it for everything. Right. And there's this overuse that can definitely occur. And I'm not going to go as far as saying it's going to slow you down, because even if you use it for everything, you're still going to move faster. But I don't think it's necessary for every single thing. And so there needs to be, at least for now. And what I say now is only that guarantee expires at midnight tonight because of how fast things move right now. But overusing it is kind of silly. Also, I think that there was, when 2026 came in, and it was now not the year of talking about AI, but actually doing. And so rolling out licenses to an entire organization without understanding fully how that business unit particularly should be leveraging it. And it's the same concept as, just because we can build it doesn't mean we should.
Yeah, no, completely. It's and your partner, the customer you spoke about there, again, the key thing here is first principles, right? And like you just said, just because we can, should we? That person is thinking, what is our route to eventual success? And then how can we apply AI to support it? I was talking to a CMO the other day, specifically around content, and she was saying like copywriting tasks. This is a big global organization. They do massive amounts of regional business in English speaking languages, English speaking markets in APAC. And a big pain point for them is the content's produced in the US, versioning, translating, localizing, personalizing to do personalization at scale. Like if even if it's just the fact that you have to go back to the central agency in the US, and it takes you 2 days to make those changes, that is a big time sink for a global marketing organization. So she was like, all of that stuff is done by AI now because it should be. But what we will not do is the initial content creation. We will not outsource that to AI. We will use AI in that process, because she was like, the minute you start outsourcing actual insights, a bit like the person you were speaking to, then it doesn't work. Like, it's a false economy. It's a false efficiency. And I've definitely seen what you're talking about, where it's like, brilliant, this year the CIO can roll out Claude to everybody and it's our own instance. And so, yeah, but what are they going to be doing with it? And that's as bad as the shadow AI thing of people just squirreling away doing things on the side. So yeah, I think that's a very good answer. And I guess if we're flipping it around the other way, if you were building a B2B marketing strategy from 2026, what's your approach? How would AI shape that approach, right? Would you do something differently to what had happened in the past? How central would AI be to your building a B2B marketing strategy?
Yeah, I mean, well, I think it has to be centered. But I think more than one thing could be centered at once. And I don't think that means completely neglecting and departing from some of the legacy tactics and strategies that have proven the test of time. I'll tell you what, if you spent 2 minutes on LinkedIn, there's a consultant for everything, and they can teach you how to generate 94,000 leads in 24 hours with one Claude prompt and all of these things. So there's a lot of stuff to stay away from. And I suppose there's a lot of bad advice out there. So I want to be careful and just say that I think we're in the age of bold exploration and bold testing. And I think being okay with failing and being wrong is going to bode marketers really well. I think there is, specifically from the top down, along with the mandate to use AI, I think is an understanding that there's going to be a learning curve and we're going to miss a few fastballs, and that's okay, so long as we're comfortable being uncomfortable.
100%. And it comes back to that same point again, to the first conversation I referenced today, which is let's not say, how do we use AI? How do we append AI to our practice? Let's say, what are we trying to achieve? And then, there will be elements to that where we can start applying AI, and maybe actually AI becomes central to it, but maybe sometimes it is more tactical. And I think if your approach, and this has been the same in marketing forever, if your approach is to do the right thing, if your approach is to help your potential customer and through that build a relationship with them and through that drive sales and successful outcomes for both parties, then you'll stay fine. Blinded by the idea of AI is going to somehow be a panacea, then I think you might be in trouble. Which I guess brings me to the optimism question, right? The optimism scale, which is when you think about the future of AI in B2B marketing, and I would like you to compare this to where you were at the turn of the year, because things have changed a lot. How optimistic are you feeling about the use of AI in B2B marketing?
So I'm feeling really good about it. I think it's the B2B is a slower adoption rate than B2C. And so the cart's moving, but it's just moving a bit slower. I think that what we're going to see is the lean, flexible companies are going to gain potentially substantial ground against the legacy giants of industry. And I think you're going to see AI level the playing field in a lot of ways that money couldn't do before. Yeah.
The reason I specifically said around the turn of the year is because you and I first started talking about doing something like this around then. And since then, even if I think about what we're doing for our customers, we're helping them to cleanse their data, to make sure that every data subject is a real human being who is interested in hearing from them. We're helping them with their content creation. We're definitely helping them with their content syndication, to engage with buyers, all of these things with AI right at the center. And you and I know as well, there's a whole raft of other stuff that we're about to start sharing with our our customers. And that's pretty quick, right? Because as we record now, we're in the middle of April. That's, it's 3.5 months. I'm feeling I would say I'm feeling more optimistic than ever, really, because I'm seeing much more practical application that's really helping marketers to get results versus, impressive stuff that can be done. And taking that kind of thought of, practical applications, again, for question, as always, for any B2B marketers listening or watching to this, from your perspective, and you talk to B2B marketers all the time, how should they be thinking about AI? How should they be thinking about AI in their marketing strategy? And if this is relevant to them, how should they start?
I think you put it really well. And it's looking at the same problem the same way, right? Not what can we do with AI, but how can we solve this challenge? And if AI is a big part of that, that's really great. I'm really bullish on AI in marketing. And I think it has to be an addition conversation. It's how does this create more value for our customers and solve challenges, not how can we reduce X, Y, and Z and make this smaller. So yeah.
At least not only that, I would say. And thank you for giving me credit for that, but it wasn't me. It was someone I was talking to the other day. I just regurgitated what she said. She also said to me, and I love this, one thing she said was, like, they're not losing people. Like, what they're actually doing is they're enabling people to be more creative, which again, I think is something that we believe is possible with AI. And then my takeaway is like a phrase that stuck in my head. She said, AI doesn't create value on its own. It's insight and application that do that. And I thought, yeah, that's it. AI can help you with that, but it's you need the insight and application in the first place. So thank you, Tommy, as always, for a great conversation. And thanks to everyone for watching and listening to In Demand, your regular insider guide to everything that matters in the world of B2B marketing and demand generation, brought to you by Demand AI. Experience the future of demand gen with Demand AI. I have been Matt Egan, the Chief Content Officer at Demand AI, joined as always by my partner in crime, Chief Revenue Officer Tommy Heffernan. Please like, subscribe, and comment wherever you find us, and we'll see you next time. Goodbye for now.